All right, all right, all right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt
and Jake here,
and we are 100%
Sabbath Lounge
sponsored by Sabbath Lounge.
That's right.
And we want to thank Sabbath Lounge for sponsoring us and making this possible today. So
yeah, those guys are great.
Yes, they are. So 100% funded in-house, and we do not receive any money for this. And you can probably tell.
No, this is top of the line.
That's right. So there will be no refunds, warranties, or exchanges. That's in the fine print.
Yep. What you see is what you get.
That's right. Well, we're glad you made it. We appreciate the listening faithful that are always here, from Shrakah to Christina to Blessed and Blooming Homestead to Psalm 119 and Beartron. And I may be missing one other person. So we've had
lots of people,
a few new people. So if you've missed this, we try to be live in our Shabbat. We air this at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Shabbat, and there are some weeks we miss.
Yep, but we try to be in the comments live as it plays, so you can talk with the Matt and Jake.
That's right,
from Sabbath Lounge,
and you have lots of witty banter. And as somebody said last week, they used a big 4-letter word. What was it? No, not a 4-letter, not a 4-letter word.
4-syllable word.
Yes, a $5 word is what I call it.
There you go.
So, and with inflation, maybe it's a $50 word.
There you go.
So,
I blame Iran.
Facetious,
yes.
And when they spelled it out, I was like, "What? Oh, that's how you spell that."
I say it a lot. I've never seen it spelled.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yep.
In my opinion, and I'm a bad speller. So my son Noah had a T-shirt at one point that said "Bad spellers untie."
Okay.
Instead of unite.
I get it now. Now that you've explained it.
Yes. It always made me laugh. It's like, I can relate. It's like writing something. You ever written something and you're like, I want to use this word. Can't spell it. Nope. Can't spell it. Big. Because you couldn't spell gigantic.
Right.
You just wrote big.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Well,
I'm not proud to admit it.
Yeah. I've been looking at Reader's Digest a lot, and I like the vocabulary section. And after reading that, I think it's very, very, very good. Good.
That's some good adjectives. I say it's working.
Yep.
So I used to get Reader's Digest. Do you subscribe to Reader's Digest? Like send you a paper copy?
No, but I think I'm going to start writing in and try to earn some money on the side, making jokes in the Reader's Digest.
Oh yeah, I bet you can.
To fund our Sabbath Lounge.
Yes. Those checks will just roll in.
That's right.
So one after the other.
I've heard AI will do it for me now. So
yeah. That's right. They
got a license to print money.
Yes. Along with everyone else.
Right.
So
it's not saturated yet, Matt.
No, not at all.
There's too many people out there with principles still.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, they'll take that away from you eventually.
Yeah, they will. Well, I hope that you are doing well. And we've been doing a series. First off, before we get to the series, remember you can find us some places.
Yes, at sabbathlounge.com or on the YouTube or on many other places.
Yeah, we appreciate the shares. Christina and Shrakah have definitely shared out our content, and so has our friend Jennifer Clanton.
Oh yeah,
on North Texas Fellowship and a Facebook group. She shared out some of our content there. We really appreciate that. So
yeah,
and also I was looking at some Andrew LeClaire stuff, Sabbath Lounge's own. Andrew LeClaire, and somebody mentioned about he might come to Fort Worth, and I said something to him about maybe we could collaborate.
So
if anybody can put a bug in his ear about coming to Fort Worth, we even talked to him about he could stay out. We've got a place he could stay, so we'd work something out. So anyway, we could figure
It's
that
a
out.
shed out back.
That's right. It's perfect.
I have to share it with the wasps.
Yes, put a fresh hay bale out for him. So,
Yep.
Well, we've been doing a study on how Christians are also following Torah, and we're just trying to find all this common ground with people that you may not realize, and mostly giving you some talking points to talk with someone, not to beat them over the head, but just kind of show them, because there are a lot of people that want to argue and say, I don't follow Torah. That's the old law. It's done away with. Messiah did it all on the cross.
Right.
And you can show people all these scriptures where they are literally following it, but they will say that they don't.
Right.
So they don't know. And not to be mean to them, but it is interesting to kind of point it out, and definitely try to pick some. Hopefully, you can pick some things out of here and use it as a conversation piece.
Yep. And either it'll spur on conversation, or it'll get someone thinking, or they'll just revert back to their mindset, and that's not really on you. I mean, you kind of give them something to look at, and if they don't want to look at it, that's not your fault.
Yeah, you got to always give them a reason to keep coming back, is what I say.
Yep.
So, but as Jake says, you don't want to dump out all your seeds on them at one time. Just give them a little bit at a time. So,
yep.
So I think in the series I've kind of lost track, but I think this is technically number 7 in this series. And so let me swap over. We're going to do something different. We're going to try to be fancy with our camera angles a little bit, maybe, and do a little bit more than we have. So, we'll attempt to do something different.
We get lots of requests to see our smiling faces more. So.
That's right. So there we go. All right. So this is Leviticus 19 is kind of where we pick up. And Jake, it repeats some things. Would you share this?
Yeah, I think we talked about some of these last time. So Leviticus 19, honor your parents, keep the Sabbath. I like we put no idols in there this time. And then give to the poor, don't steal.
Yeah, and that's verses 3, 4, 9, 10, and 11. So if you wanted to look those up. But, anytime you see the repeat in Torah, hey, pay attention. This is important.
Yeah, I think, let's see. Don't steal, verse 11. That's, Pittsburgh was on
yeah.
Pittsburgh was on the outs.
Don't steal.
Pittsburgh was on the outs with Yah for a while. But they cleaned it up.
They
cleaned it up.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. That was just to see if you'd notice. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's a good catch there. Don't steal. Leviticus 19:12, never swear by my name in order to deceive anyone. This dishonors the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. And we do have some examples of that. I think you could make an argument that, Balaam comes kind of close to this, but I think God forbid him to cross a line there. He kind of kept him from doing certain things in that situation. But yeah, I wonder what other example in scripture does someone use his name to deceive someone?
Well, I think you could probably chalk up Simon was maybe attempting to do this because he wanted to buy and sell some gift of giving of the Holy Spirit. I think you could stick that under this category.
Yeah. Well, and I think you could also maybe argue Ananias and Sapphira did this in essence because they
no, I promise I gave you all the money.
In a way, that's a version of a swear that you promised that you did something and then you didn't, and he did not like it.
Yeah,
don't do that.
I like how he's like, don't swear by my name. I'm Yahweh, by the way. Yahweh's the name, not to swear by.
Yeah, there's a realtor in the area, and her name is Annie Land. Have you ever seen her billboard?
I don't know.
And she's like, "Land is my name, and real estate is my game." I'm like, I would have done the same thing, but
Yeah. Sometimes your name works.
yeah, it works.
Yeah. My last name doesn't fit with anything. So, I mean, I kind of had to just choose a profession not based on my name.
Yeah.
It's kind of close to pizza, though.
Pizza, yeah. Kind of.
And yours is cook.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should start a restaurant.
Maybe so.
A pizza restaurant.
Yep. When my kids were little, they had a principal all the time to be like, "Hey, what are y'all going to cook?" My kids got so tired of that. Still to this day, if he sees them,
I'm gonna have to start saying that to them.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
So somehow, I don't know how we got from swearing to there.
I don't know. But hang on, I did have this idea. If anyone in the comments wants to take this and run with it, I only ask 10%. So I was thinking, talking about cooking, of having a restaurant and call it something like Robotic Eats or something like that, to kind of fit in with the technology boom that's going on right now and what everyone's interested in. And then you go in and it's just like burgers and fries and stuff, but it gets people to come in and then they're like, "Oh, what do you got?" "Oh, awesome burgers and fries." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty good."
Mm-hmm.
And who's making it? Robots? No, people. It's just a restaurant.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You're free to take that.
Yes, take it, please.
Yeah, just 10%. That's
just
all I ask.
10%. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
If 10% is good enough for Yahweh, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you could put that on a t-shirt too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now I have seen the new X-Files where Mully and Scully go into a robotic restaurant.
Mully and Scully.
What are their names?
Mulder and Scully.
Yeah. And they go into a restaurant and it's all robots. And at the end, it's like, "You want to leave us a tip?" And he's like, "No. Robots." And so then the machines start attacking them on the way home. They each go to their separate house on the way home, and weird things happen. Like her car shuts down, and then it's like, "Do you want to leave a tip?"
Yeah.
And she says no, and the car just stalls. Somehow she gets home, and then her house does the same thing. The alarm goes off, the security things start coming down, and it's like, "Hey, you want to leave a tip?" And she said no, and then it's like,
oh yeah, and then all the like drones come after them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a little crazy. Maximum Overdrive.
A little bit. Yeah. Hopefully we don't see that world.
Yeah.
All right, but don't swear.
Okay, I won't. Leviticus 19:13. Never oppress or rob your neighbor. Never keep the pay you owe a hired worker overnight. I think we talked about robbing and oppressing your neighbor before.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about keeping the pay you owe somebody overnight. Different day and time. I think a lot of us we work in jobs where, that happens to us on a regular basis. I've worked in jobs where I got paid a month. Right now I'm fortunate I get paid every week. That's pretty awesome. So, but still. That means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm being withheld that money overnight, but it is a different time, different age.
Yeah, and when our son does a job or something like that, or someone does something for us, we try to adhere to this and make sure they get paid that day.
Yeah,
kind of situation.
Yeah.
But we do it because of this verse. We don't just, here's the, because, if it makes sense if you're going to keep coming back to work, okay, I'll just give you a lump sum, it makes sense. But yeah, don't hold the pay.
Yeah. And I think that is fair. A lot of people do have people that work for them, sometimes cleaning houses to, maybe the yard guy. And, you gotta pay them. You gotta be fair. Don't rip them off just because they don't know. So don't live like the pagans. Leviticus 19 continues and repeats. You got to treat the deaf and the mute nicely. You got to have, in verse 14, you got to have impartial judges. Oh, I think I was supposed to.
Oh, yeah. Change back over.
Oh, man. That's the problem with showing you this way is I forget. So treat the deaf and mute nicely, impartial judges, and don't slander. So I think we completely skipped this one.
Right.
But that's
good thing we read it out loud.
That's right. That's right. And then
well, it doesn't help the deaf and mute situation.
Yes, sorry. And not slandering people. So that all did get repeated.
All right. And then 19:17 and 18. Never hate another Israelite. Be sure to correct your neighbor so that you will not be guilty of sinning along with him. Never get revenge. Never hold a grudge against any of your people. Instead, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I am Yahweh. Yeah, this one people don't like here. Be sure to correct your neighbor so that you will not be guilty of sinning along with him. Yeah, that idea of, well, that's his deal. Well, hang on. If you know and you don't express it to them, then, it's on you as well, in a way. And so, yeah, that one's kind of tough because you're kind of going back and forth between this takes tact.
Yes.
And you shouldn't be just berating people over, hovering over them, looking for every little detail to correct them on. I don't think that's the spirit of the law there.
But I do believe there are people who have applied it that way.
Yeah.
And who live that way. And nobody, those kinds, if you do that, you're not going to have many friends, even if you're right. You can.
They'll just make sure they're not around you.
That's right. You can be right about something and be absolutely so right. And there won't be anybody that listens to you. I mean, if you do this wrong, your own family, your kids, your wife, nobody will listen to you if you're just going around all the time and doing this in a harsh manner, a manner without love, a manner that sounds like you're justifying all of your flaws and you never mention your flaws. No, people don't like that.
Right.
So goody two shoe kind of attitude. And also I think this implies, your neighbor, you have a relationship with this person. And, I think that it doesn't say that, but it kind of makes sense that in my experience, when you have a relationship with someone and they know you care about them because maybe you've helped them, you've worked beside them, you've lent a hand, you've given them the cup of sugar when they needed sugar, whatever it is, that if you reciprocate, people like nice people and they tend to listen to you more.
Right. And I think also when we look at the context of this, their neighbor is the fellow Israelites. And also when they went into the land, which was they're prepping to go into the land. When they went into the land, they were supposed to get rid of everyone else. Mm-hmm. So their neighbor would still just be them. So this is an inside the house kind of situation. And you see it there at the first verse about, don't be, what's it say? Don't hate another Israelite. So that's kind of the context there. And so I think, I think most people in church today go by the understanding of not hating other people. I think they would teach that.
Yeah, and take it too far, really, because they, when I know Keely, my wife, just recently did a Bible study and they were talking about something and they may have read the scripture about how Yah hated the Nicolaitans. And they were like, oh, I just can't even imagine how he could hate someone. And I'm just like, I'm like, but I think that's kind of typical. I would say it goes too far the other way where they just can't even imagine. They've made him hippie Jesus and he's wearing the John Lennon glasses and got the long hair, like peace, everybody.
Yeah.
And that is a false Jesus.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we have this, like at the end there, instead, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I am Yahweh. I think we've, as a culture, kind of put the number 2 commandment in the number 1 position, and then kind of forget about the number 1 commandment of love Yah.
Yeah.
Because when you just love your neighbor, that's how you get stuff like transgender stuff. That's how you get stuff like gay marriage. That's how you get stuff like abortion, even, because it's like, well, no, we love her and this is going to be painful for her in her life. So, when you cut Yah out of the picture and just do quote unquote love your neighbor, it's not the correct love, because it's without Yah. And so you get skewed, counterfeits of it, and they are just they're Frankenstein monsters of what it should look like.
No, that's a good observation. The other thing you can do is pray for people. Pray for, if they can't see it, can't hear it, or you're not sure. Pray for the opportunity. Pray for the words when you can say something maybe that's difficult to be said and uncomfortable, because sometimes it can be very uncomfortable to say certain things. But you're right. This is talking about a fellow brother believer, brother sister kind of person. This is not somebody lost in the world. Yes, we should reach to them, but they're not held and committed to this standard yet.
Right.
Maybe someday, but not right now.
Right. And I think too, again, we've mentioned this in other commands as well, but it applies here. The idea that, when we look at this command, we always want to apply it to the other person, but we also want to be someone that can be approached for these things. We need to be people looking to be on Yah's standard. And if that's our goal, then when someone brings something to us and says, hey, maybe you're off track here, we should be receptive to that and know, like, if I know Matt's heart and that he's not just going to try to tear me down, and he genuinely cares about, me growing in the faith, then I'm going to accept what he's saying. I might disagree, but my pride needs to take a step aside, and I need to at least think about what he's telling me, and maybe I come back and say, yeah, Matt, you were right. Maybe I come back and say, well, Matt, I think you're off base because of this and this and this. And then we can have a discussion about it, that kind of thing. But be open to receiving correction. So,
yeah, no, that's good. And that applies, in the workplace. Just recently with me, that happened today. There's some things I'm in charge of, and the guys were like, we want to make changes. We don't like this. And it'd be easy to get your feelings hurt about those kinds of things. But, sometimes you listen, and what they were saying, it was right. I had some wording in there wrong, and I didn't get upset or mad. I just went and fixed it. So, and we tell people, hey, when you see something, let me know. We want it to be accurate. And so it's interesting how we can do that at work sometimes. Like in your industry, you have to be perfect, or airplane doesn't make it,
right.
Or worse. But a lot of people are used to doing that kind of mindset at work, but it is no different. And we should even be more concerned about our fellow man and, where they're going to be.
Right.
And making sure they're secure. And, I just recently went through a deal with an employee that, I really liked. Super smart. The clients liked him. He was articulate. He could talk and have conversations. He was smart with the customers out in the field. But he didn't show up. He was late. He was unpredictable. He would randomly leave early. And, it's hard for me to make a schedule and go, I'm going to have such and such here at this time and do this. And then find out, 5:30 in the morning, I'm not going to be there. Sorry.
Yeah.
And like, thank you. It made it real hard to plan. And his life was kind of crazy. He was, and so I think for his benefit, this will be a good thing for him, hopefully. And so sometimes a bad thing happens and you can learn from its discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, somehow we got there. I don't know how.
Oh, we talked about all of it.
Yeah. And then keep the commandments. And this parallels in Matthew 17:19. Yeshua said to him, "Why do you ask me what is good? There is only one who is good. If you want to enter into life, obey the commandments." "Which commandments?" the man asked. Yeshua said, "Never murder, never commit adultery, never steal, never give false testimony, honor your father and mother, love your neighbor as you love yourself."
See, Matt, you only have to do those 5 commandments.
Doesn't mention Sabbath, does he?
Murder, adultery, steal, false testimony, honor your father and mother. Yeah. Just those 5, and love your neighbor as yourself. So, yeah. So we know that after this, he says, "I've done all those," right?
Mm.
Now, a lot of people will take this and they'll say, well, he was lying, and that's why Yeshua said he didn't really want to follow him. When in reality, I don't think I would claim. It doesn't say he's lying, so I'll just take it at its word that he says he's doing them. Great. But then Yeshua says, "Okay, then go sell your stuff and follow me." So the way I kind of take that is when he says, "Do these commandments," and he says, "I've done them." Then he goes, "Okay, you've done the love your neighbor commandments." He even says in the verse, "Love your neighbor as yourself." Then he follows it up with, "Okay, do the love Yah commandments part of that." And then that's what the guy has a hard time with.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of got him switched around.
Yeah, that many times the church has got the love your neighbor down pat, but loving Yah, they don't understand exactly what that means sometimes.
Yeah.
And not to say that that's true for everybody, because that's certainly not true.
Yeah, I think so. I think when we are talking about like the church that we're kind of saying follows a lot of this, we're kind of by default excluding, the rainbow churches and stuff like that. It's like your mainstream,
Bible believers,
what we grew up in kind of church.
People that believe that Yah's word is something to be read and studied, examined,
honored, right?
People that are, Bible fellowships, doing, a lot of times they have elders and deacons and not just one guy in charge kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
interestingly too, right after that, I believe, is the section that talks about that we bring up when we talk about whether Judas is saved or not. Because they're like, "We've done all this stuff. We followed you. Hey, what are we getting?" Right?
Yeah.
That might not be. Maybe it's Matthew 18 I'm thinking of. Anyway.
I don't remember.
I just like throwing that in whenever I can.
You like to sprinkle that in.
All right. Leviticus 19:34. Foreigners, not the band, foreigners living among you will be like your own people. Love them as you love yourself, because you were foreigners living in Egypt. I am Yahweh your Elohim. So some more love your neighbor kind of situation.
Yep. Same verbiage repeated twice in the same chapter. Definitely anytime you see that, it's trying to make a statement. Pay attention.
Yeah, I like how he keeps bringing back, don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
And you might say this is kind of the impetus for this series even, is we're like, hey, we were once foreigners in Egypt. We were in church, and, we weren't crazy people.
Yeah. Well, and this also addresses the mixed multitude idea. And he is bringing that up and kind of reminding them, there are people in this group that are different, that are foreign from you, and treat them with respect, show them love, remember what it felt like to be in that position. And so I think there's, it's kind of a mixed multitude that I had never really thought about till just then.
Yeah. Good point.
So, well, we'll get better at messing with the camera here. Love, Matthew 5:43-44. You've heard it said, love your neighbor, hate your enemy. But I tell you this, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So, and what I think what you see here in Yeshua is he's building on the backbone of this Torah, and he is telling you the meaning behind Torah. And the meaning behind Torah all along is to change your heart, to change how, that's why when, recently we just anointed somebody with oil and prayed over them. And one of the guys in the group anointed their toe, their right toe, their right thumb, the forehead,
right ear,
right ear. Because that's where we read about it over and over. And what you say and what you do and what you think,
where you
go. Yeah. And that kind of idea, which is, it's pretty interesting too. But anyway,
yeah, that's a good connection of, showing Yeshua kind of bringing these important points up to those he's talking to.
Well, he's taking it to he's just kind of revealing what it's supposed to do, I guess.
Right.
And I think that it's kind of an interesting concept we've talked about before about this new covenant idea. It's like it is in the process of being revealed, and we are supposed to be working towards that and writing that Torah in our heart. I think that all along that was nothing new. He wanted them to write the Torah on their heart. We've got the scripture in Deuteronomy about write it. He says, write it the commands on your heart, your forehead, your wrist, when you get up, when you walk along the road, when you talk, when you teach your children, 24/7, talk about this. But the deeper meaning is not just physically doing these things, but your heart being changed.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people that argue against what we do, and they're like, I'll just do that because it makes you feel better. It makes you feel pious and like you're better than everyone else. And I've had people say that, and I'm like, no, I don't know why you think that. But there are people who will say stuff like that.
Yeah.
So unfairly, I do believe. But how many times in this this is definitely a direct quote from what we just read.
Right.
But he adds that extra step about, praying for those who persecute you, because you don't see that a lot in Torah. It probably is there. I don't know. I can't recall a time. Maybe listeners can put a comment if you can think of a scripture where it talks about that. I think probably David did, and when Saul is going after him, he definitely has that attitude, for sure, because he didn't want to hurt the Lord's anointed. But yeah, to me, Matthew 5, the Beatitudes, this is definitely one of those things where, this is also the section of scripture that if he was going to say, you've heard it said before to keep the Sabbath, now I'm telling you, it's going to be Sunday. He doesn't say that.
Right.
And this is the place he would have said it, because he's not really changing any of these laws. He's just taking them to their full potential.
Right. Yeah, he's I think a lot of times when we come into Torah, we do a lot of we put an emphasis on a lot of the physical outward commands.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of internal commands that we're supposed to be doing too. We do a lot of things like that come across unloving. And I know we always get, the answer is always, well, love is keeping the commands.
Right.
Love is a choice, a decision, an attitude. It's not a special feeling. It's not the butterflies in your heart situation. It's like, well, yeah, that's true. But there's also an emotion, and an attitude that you should have towards people that isn't prideful and arrogant and, things like that, that we should also be working on, not just the physical things.
Yeah, it's much harder to work on the things that happen in your heart and in your mind, because those are so personal. No one else knows that. No one else sees it. But all of us have been there, and we've thought some bad things, from hate to just all kinds of different evil. It's so easy to do that in your mind, and you may not have acted out and gone out and road rage killed someone, but you sure might have thought about something, because you were so mad
You might
because I
have
cut you
hated
off or
someone.
whatever.
Might have hated them in your heart.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that kind of thing is it's much harder to do, and I think that's kind of the point he's saying is he's trying to show them the point all along is that you would be a changed individual, that you would be more like him, that you'd be more like our Father and more like Yeshua, and have that kind of mind instead of a flesh mind. And that is the goal, is to less of my flesh and more of him. And that's very difficult to do. So I think it's real easy to physically keep a lot of these commandments, but to do the other is much more difficult. And I think that's what we see sometimes, and what we talk about sometimes. Fellow believers in regular church, they are doing a good job of working on their heart and mind, and doing some of those things. I may not be physically doing some of the things that we're doing, but that doesn't make so. I think when you're new in this, you're kind of be like, yeah, I can't believe I used to think that, but their faith may actually be greater than your faith, and you just have to be careful to judge people about that, because they may actually be spiritual giants, and you're going after them, and you're going after Yah's people, and they're not your enemy.
Yeah, we're on the same team here.
Yeah.
The another thing that I think is interesting here is I think he's bringing up this concept. This is early on. He's bringing up this concept of loving your neighbor and also loving your enemy, because later he's going to say that you're his enemy, and he loved you anyway.
Yeah.
So I think he's just kind of seeding the ground with that information right here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
something that I think is so important is our prayer life, and spending time. And for me, I'm if you haven't noticed, I do like to talk, and so that's an easy thing for me. And I talk my prayer out loud every morning in my car. I don't care if you look at me and you're like, "What's that guy doing?" He's, anymore though. I just be talking on the phone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I talk those prayers out, and it's so important to pray things like, "Help me to see the world the way you see it. Help me to see people the way you see it. Help me to be as loving and patient and kind to my fellow man as you've been with me. Help me to be patient and kind with others the way you have continuingly accepted us when we fail you, when we fall short of your glory." And it's not just me and you, but it's for thousands of years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the standard. And so, which is pretty high.
Right.
And that's where all of us have failed and fallen short of his glory, because that's really hard to do.
Yep.
But doesn't mean we can't try.
Exactly.
All right, so let me switch over to little us.
Little us. All right.
More, is this me or you?
I don't know.
Okay. More, don't be like the pagans. Leviticus 19 continues. Verse 26, no magic. Verse 27, no blood. 30, keep the Sabbath. That's at least the third time we've seen that, maybe fourth, in just this section. Verse 33, you got to treat the foreigners, be nice. And we just saw that one. And then 35 through 36, honest weights and measures. All of that gets repeated.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
And then Leviticus 19:28, never slash your body to mourn the dead, and never get a tattoo. I am Yahweh. I think the tattoo is a tattoo for the dead also, I think.
Yeah.
In the context.
Is Tatooine misspelled there too at the top? Is there supposed to be another O there?
Oh, probably.
Yeah. I'm like, it's like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Tatooine.
This is,
I think.
when you're on some distant planet,
Yes. Uh-huh.
don't be tatting up.
But I have known people, unfortunately, recently. I worked with a guy for years and years. Loved him to death. Great guy. And he's a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. Huge. He lived on a lake, and that's just him. Hawaiian shirts, hanging out with friends. Sharing a meal out on the lake. That was his happy place. And but when he passed away, he did have a powerful effect on a lot of people. And I know at least one people in our group, they're getting his face or something tattooed on their leg, and I was like, oof, I think that is exactly what he's talking about here. So, and I know some people get into Torah and they're all tatted up, and for some people it costs thousands and thousands of dollars and be terribly painful, and that's not practical for people to shed them, but definitely there's something to it.
Yeah, and this was very noticeable, especially back in I think even in the 90s, early 2000s, it was pretty common that church folk would look down on the idea of getting tattoos, and they think of the body as the temple of Yah, and so not supposed to be tattooing it and things like that. So yeah, I think historically they've been on board with this.
But I would say that changed a lot. You got a lot of people that get tattoos now. That I would say that this one is one of those that I don't know. Yes, I believe there's certain people of a certain age that believe this. It's probably like really old people believe this, and maybe some of the real young people. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think
because young people now probably don't want to get a tattoo because all these other people have tattoos.
Yeah, I think it goes through phases.
Yeah,
and I think we're kind of. I think there was a big in the mid-aughts. I think it was kind of a big time for tattoos.
Yeah,
and then kind of took a break. And I think it's kind of on a hiatus right now.
Maybe.
Depending on everything's so fractured right now. There's always going to be a subgroup doing something crazy, but
yeah.
But I think in general terms, I think it's kind of waning at present.
Yeah, and put in the comments if you ever had somebody that was addicted to tattoos. I know I have. I've known several people through the years that get one tattoo, and the next thing you know, they have a whole sleeve, and they're like, I just can't get enough.
Yeah, I don't.
Just always thinking about their next tattoo. And there were a lot of people around me at a certain point when everybody I knew was tatted up, and I mean not just one, but on their the back of their calf and all up and down their arm, and no face tattoos though. And but they would always be surprised that I didn't have one. I was like, I don't like pain, for one thing. So, and I knew the scripture, and I was regular church.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know some people in church do believe this.
Yeah, I just myself just never really interested in that. Never thought, hey, part of it is I'm kind of indecisive. So if I did pick something, I would be like, I know I'm going to hate this in about 10 years. So, it's that kind of thing also.
Yeah.
All right. Leviticus 19:29. Never dishonor your daughter by making her a prostitute, or the country will turn to prostitution and be filled with people who are perverted. This doesn't happen at all. This hasn't happened nowadays.
I think it has. Well,
what's terrible is, you got the. I've seen people who promote their daughter's OnlyFans page, and it's like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? And it's like they're doing this, but this is definitely something that I think the church sheds. They're not interested in this kind of thing.
No, no. And it definitely, I taught in the school system, and I definitely saw girls that at a young age where they were trying to make them look like grown women. I'm like, why? It's just like a little girl. Let her be a little girl. Quit trying to make her this, all makeup and dolled up, and just let her be who she is. And if she wants to do that later, then it's going to come natural anyway. Yeah.
I think not that I have a whole lot of experience with this, but I've seen enough to be concerned about it. Like if you look at like little kid gymnastics stuff, it's like, or like dance stuff. It's like, our daughter was in ballet for a little bit, and the more, nothing really happened or anything like that, but it's like when you look at the way they have kids dance, it's like that's not for little kids.
Yeah.
And
go to a high school football game and watch the cheerleaders and see the things that they do.
Yeah, it's probably, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. And some of it is, not all of it is bad, but some,
it's been perverted.
Yeah.
Is the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's nothing wrong with cheering for your team or whatever, but then
kids dancing.
Yeah. But then a lot of times it just, and the deal is in today's world, you don't know who's looking at that, who's taking pictures of it when they're out in public and what they can do. And it's like, I get to, I think there's a lot of people below 30 that have rethought all the social media stuff, and they're not posting everything online, and they're not posting everything their kid does, or if they do, they share it just like with a very limited circle of people, not to the whole world.
Right. Yeah. This also brings up the idea. You see a lot of people that they'll do like an OnlyFans thing, and then they'll come out and go, "Oh, I'm a Christian now." And then everyone starts listening to what they're saying. It's like, hang on. You just come out of that. You probably shouldn't be out teaching people about the Bible. Spend some time learning first, before, I know you got all this fame because you're an influencer and all this, but you shouldn't just be jumping into, oh, well, I had this thing, and now it was like with Kanye. I remember when Kanye was a Christian for 10 minutes, and everyone was like, oh, Kanye's awesome now. And then he kind of got away from that. And it's like, so maybe before we going, this is great. It's the same with the Russell Brand, right? I think Russell Brand has proven to be a little bit more sincere than Kanye, but even then, it's like, okay, well, take it easy. You're probably not in a position to be teaching people about scripture right now, but spend some time with it. But I do like early on when Russell Brand was coming to stuff, a lot of what he talked about was treating people well, treating people nice, and that he thinks that's how Yeshua would have wants him to treat people. Yeah. And I think he's good on that.
Yeah. And then, when you think about the scripture and you think of like America today, are we filled with the land with people who are perverted? It kind of seems that way, so if you work this backwards and go, do we have are we filled with, and it does seem sometimes like if you just watch the news about all these people that get in trouble for being perverted.
That's a good point, Matt.
So if you work it backwards, you go, does that mean we've done this? And that's why we see that?
Yeah, great point.
So, and is it any worse than it always has been, or is it just because it's so made public and you see it on your phone, on the TV, everywhere?
Well, I think kind of like you're saying, because you see it everywhere, it proliferates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of a
It's
self-fulfilling prophecy.
self-fulfilling, and it's almost like one of those things where sometimes the more you talk about a bad thing, it's almost like sometimes you plant the seed for someone else to be like, oh,
It's more mainstream.
I can do that. And I think that's what happens for sure. And they've even done the research on it to say that, when there's a mass murderer person out there, they should never publicize the name. They should never say who it was and even go into all the details, because the weirdos out there are like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay. Then they're taking notes, and they keep wanting to be famous in this terrible way. But anyway, it's almost like sometimes when we promote it and talk about it, we make it worse.
Yeah. I kind of go back and forth on that one, because it's like, I should probably know.
Yeah.
I don't need you hiding more information.
Well,
You
it
know
does
what I
say
mean?
the truth will set you free.
Yeah. But I think, like you were saying, I think what's the saying, what one generation tolerates,
Does
the
in
next
moderation,
one, the
the
next
other one
one
does in
accepts.
excess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the next one welcomes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that plays a big part of it too. All right. Leviticus 19:32, show respect to the elderly and honor older people. In this way, you show respect for your Elohim. I am Yahweh. So, yeah, when we first came to Torah, we read this, and our version was rise to the hoary head. And we're like, what the heck's a hoary head? And what does that mean? And we're like, stand up when an older person enters the room as a sign of respect. It's like, we did that all the time, especially if it's a lady sitting down at the, at the table or something like that, you stand up. I think that is general, gentlemanly. It's historically been, gentlemanly actions.
And give your seat up for the lady.
Yeah.
So,
but this is older people, rise when they enter the room kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's an old adage of, stand up to shake somebody's hand. Some of that kind of thing. But it is specific about elders, and some cultures are better at it than others. Let's face it, the Japanese culture excels in this, and they highly respect their elders, and probably do it much better than they do in the American culture or the West.
I think a downfall of this has been the social media and the internet. It's like, my elders do not deserve respect. I see what they're doing online. You know what I mean? And I think that probably put the kibosh on a lot of some of that.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, more repeats. Don't live like the pagans. Leviticus 20 through 22 repeats. Don't in verse 1 through 3. Don't sacrifice your kids. Verse 6, no magic. Verse 9, don't curse your parents. 10, no adultery. And then 11 through 22, 1, they've got these sexual rules repeated that also were featured on our Father's Day edition in 2025. No mediums in 22:7, and that's not shirt size.
We're into deep discussion about this last week. So
yeah. So just a continuation there. And then it does continue to elaborate magic. Leviticus 26 says, I will condemn people who turn to mediums and psychics, chase after them as though they were prostitutes. I will exclude them from the people.
I feel like there was I had heard. I think that's what it was. We had, I think we were recommended a book, and it was a Christian book. And when we looked at, I think it was like some notes in the back or the front, where it might have been in the front, where they're talking about how the, all the effort they put into writing this book, and thank you, this person, and all this. And it was talking about how this Christian woman who's writing this book, talked to these mediums and psychics about stuff and got very good perspective about things. And it's like,
Was it called
that's probably not a good thing.
The Secret or something like that?
I don't remember. This was a couple years ago. It was,
or The Shack.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I do remember being like put off by that and going, it's odd that someone from church would be, passing this book around, because generally the church doesn't like that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
something we would have in common.
Well, and that would be examples of where we part ways, and where we part ways are some of these churches that I haven't heard about it as much this year, but 2 years ago I kept hearing about ayahuasca, and so this weird drug, and you go on this trip and have a vision quest, and
you can see the data coming out of your drywall if you put a laser to it.
Oh, you've tried this, have you? So
no.
But I can remember hearing about pastors going on this, and I'm like, what? You think that's a good idea? I think the football player Aaron Rodgers there's something in Netflix about where he did that too, and lots of famous people, and it was kind of trendy.
That's like one of those other people that's like, oh, he's a Christian though, or he promotes Christian stuff or something like that. And it's like, well, maybe get a full picture before you start listening to what they're saying.
I worked with someone that went to that. She went to some retreat down in South America or something, and I was just like,
that's where it happens. South America.
Not good. So anyway, but there are people so hungry for an experience, so lost, and it's unfortunate that they can't find the experience in a faith, a real faith kind of thing sometimes. And it's also maybe part of culture. It's what do people feel like they have to have this experience?
Yeah, I think because we hype up the feelings of things, and if you don't have a special experience, then Yahweh isn't talking to you, or whatever higher power you think you're summoning.
And I think a lot of these people that I've seen do that, that they're listening to bad information. They're listening and getting their theology from Rogan or something, and on a podcast, or some guest he has there, like the guest that talked about Yeshua on the cross having magic mushrooms, and that was the only way he could endure the cross. And you're like, yeah, that's not a thing. He didn't do that.
Right.
That's just some guy's random weird idea, and that doesn't mean it happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. The whole Joe Rogan thing, eating mushrooms to like have an experience.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't. I mean, I don't think that's what they were doing. Just because you can eat mushrooms and whatever, see crazy things, doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah,
doesn't mean. I think you're probably letting demons in.
Yeah, definitely a scary place to be. But I thought it was interesting too, because it specifically says exclude them from the people. That's strong words.
It is.
So.
All right, Leviticus 22, 21 to 25.
Oh, I need to bring it back there. Oops, which one? Nope.
Next one over. No, other way. There you go.
Yay.
All right. A person may bring Yahweh a fellowship offering to fulfill a vow, or a free will offering, whether it is from the cattle, sheep, or goats. It must be an animal that has no defects in order to be accepted. It must never be an animal that has defects. So, on this one, I think the idea of what we would share on this is that, bring Yahweh your best. Don't give him like the last or the worst, or it's not a sacrifice if you don't care that you lost it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're willing to gamble it away or whatever. And some people do that to him though. They're like, whatever. It just shows where your heart is.
Yeah.
And then Leviticus 22:31, carefully obey my commands. I'm Yahweh, which goes nicely. Oh, Sorry, I got ahead of myself. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought the next slide was going to be that also.
Mm-hmm.
Also, tell the Israelites, those who treat their Elohim with contempt will be punished for their sin.
Treat him with contempt. You think that's just like disregard, where he doesn't matter? It's like whatever.
Yeah, probably something like.
Or does that mean? Because I don't
lines.
think it's hate, or would he use the word hate? I don't know. We'd have to study the Hebrew, see what that was.
Yeah.
Oh, what were we gonna say though?
Go back one. So, all these things that he's giving here are commands. So, what's another way to say command?
Torah.
Like,
Loving
how about this one? Tell me if you buy this. Tell me if it's a stretch. Commands is almost the same thing as saying commandments.
Yes.
Are those similar?
Yes, it's just a shortened version.
Okay.
Definitely got the same root.
So that's why it drives me crazy when we go to the New Testament and then it says, obey my commandments. And they go, oh, commandments means the 10 commandments. It's like, well, hang on. That ain't how it works.
Mm-hmm.
These are also commands.
Yeah.
These are also commandments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because they say commandments and your mind goes to 10 commandments because you watched the movie with Charlton Heston doesn't mean that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And most of us know this, but those commandments, we're kind of reading through the elaboration of how do you love God and love people? Well, you do all these things. He's telling you very specifically, this is how you love your fellow man. This is how you love me. Because it elaborates it more. Because if you just went with what's said in the 10 commandments, then, you can define, there's some things you could just define on your own what that meant.
Yeah.
But he lays it out.
I think too, you're seeing after he says all these, gives a command, he says, I am Yahweh. Do this and that and the other. I am Yahweh. Don't do this.
Because I said Yahweh. So.
It's why? Because I'm Yahweh. That's why I do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I know it doesn't say why in the text, but literally that's, how it's written and how any normal person would reasonably read what is being said there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think he's saying, obey my commands because I'm Yahweh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Or you could, even if you reverse the sentence, I am Yahweh, so obey my commands.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay, Leviticus 24:16. But those who curse Yahweh's name must be put to death. The whole congregation must stone them to death. It makes no difference whether they are Israelites or foreigners. Whoever curses Hashem must die.
And that's just another word for the name.
Okay, yeah.
Because traditional Orthodox probably say that instead of the name.
Right.
But yeah, pretty strong language about stoning them to death. And it's still this idea of giving him, I probably should have changed that, but because we just did that one, but it's back to cursing the name.
Yeah. What does that mean? Curse Yahweh's name?
I think that in some of these others, it kind of defined it. It means several things. It means not giving him attributes that don't belong to him, or not, maybe not properly giving him credit. I think that's even a way to curse his name, because anything you do that takes away from his renown, his fame, his glory, or diminishes that in any way, I think that's all a version of making his name mean nothing. And I think that's some people do that sometimes and don't realize that they have. Maybe the doctor heals them, and they probably should be like, thank you, Yah, for healing that person. Maybe they did use the hands of the doctor. Doctor may have been a praying person, or, Yah just decided to heal him. But yeah, to me, it's lots of things. It's not just one. It's not maybe what traditional church told me it was, although I think some of that is cursing his name, but
Yeah, like so I guess I would kind of push back on that a little bit. Just the uh like being careless with who you give credit to, give glory to, just because the penalty on this is stoned to death. So I think it's probably being specific as to, you know, cursing Yahweh's name. To me, that seems more like it would be old man shakes fist at cloud kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like literally, you know, I mean, I think you've probably seen it in cartoons.
Yeah,
you know, curse you, Red Baron, or whatever.
But then how do you deal with the scriptures where you see some of these prophets in sackcloth and ash, and they're like, "Cursed be the day I was born. I wished I had never been born." They don't, you know, they don't seem to be in trouble for that, which is kind of interesting.
Well, yeah.
So
that wouldn't. I guess that wouldn't be cursing Yahweh's name, though. I guess that's you're more cursing.
He created them, and you're saying, "Why did you make me?" You know, I wished you would have never made me.
Yaz even said that, though. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I wish I never made you.
That's true.
Yeah. I think this is showing importance to Yah's name. I think with the Yahweh's name sandwich here, whoever curses the name must die, who curse Yahweh's name put to death. I think it's if I had to guess, I would think this is kind of a specific thing that you're doing. You know Yahweh, and you are essentially refusing him and saying no, or like blaming him for your troubles. I don't know. Not that, because I mean Job does that. But
I always just think anytime you're cursing him, you're making his name. When you curse the name, you're making his name mean nothing. It's part of it.
I think that's part of it.
And I think we make his name mean nothing if we don't attribute things that belong to him.
I agree.
We're robbing him of glory.
Yeah.
And I know we're not supposed to do that, but
right. So I don't think this is. Do you think this is GD or JC in your language?
Not really, but I do think he knows the heart. And sometimes people say that kind of thing, and they mean him. They really mean it.
Yeah.
And there's some people who say it, and it's just like a thing to say. That you know, and we know that that's not his real name, but I think I've heard people say it, and I think they really meant it. And I don't know.
Not a lot of people stub their toe and go, "Oh, Buddha."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a certain person you're referencing when you make those statements. Though, yeah, you're right. Those aren't. That's not his name.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean.
And I think when you hear that, that is an opportunity for you to speak truth into someone's life. You know, when you hear that, you can say, "Hey, you have that conversation. Yep, you know that's not his name, right?" And like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and actually, by doing that, I mean by you know, when we came into this, we were like, "Oh, the actually making his name to nothing is by deleting his name completely, right?" So by only referencing him as God and never using his name, now you've made his name to nothing. So
yeah. And technically, it's one of those things too, where he's got multiple names. You know, through Scripture, he's got all these different attributes and different names that you see used. And you know, to me, he can't be defined in one single name. He's, you know, and that's why I am seems to fit.
Right.
So well, the more you understand it, like it just works. There was a time when you're like, huh? Especially when you're a kid, you're like, I am. What does that mean?
Right. So put in the comments what you think that means there.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not claiming to know all the answers. Leviticus 24:17, whoever kills another person must be put to death. We talked about that, but we put it in here again. I forgot to change the subheading on these. I just copied my slides. Man, sloppy. That's what happens when I was trying to fly through it. I apologize for that, but whoever kills another person, yeah, I mean, I think that's universal. I've never heard, well, maybe in California they argue this.
Yeah, it is interesting. Only certain states have the death penalty anymore. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that, someone, okay, well, you did this heinous thing, this heinous act. We'll just put you in this room, give you 3 hots and a cot for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that is not how this works.
Give you a library, you can go back to school.
Now they're
get
doing
your law degree.
Now they're doing, you can have a tablet with you, like, whenever. That's right. I guess they're trying to do that in California.
Probably, yeah.
It's like, no, you're supposed to hate being there.
Yeah,
it's a punishment.
That's a human right to have a tablet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's no scriptural reference much for holding someone in jail. There's a few instances where you read about, like, they held somebody until someone,
until judgment.
Until there was a judgment or something.
Or you're outside the camp for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. But I do think this is also, we just recently had this terrible court case of this young girl, of this driver. It was a delivery truck driver who killed this little girl. Unfortunately, like, really close. Like, I mean, this happened like here. Like, I know the road it happened on, and there's like a memorial. There's a shrine there,
and
which is
someone from our fellowship, like, right. Was it on her property?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was included in this situation. Like she had nothing to do with it, obviously. But it kind of came right through her property.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. And, that guy was found guilty. He even pled guilty.
Yeah.
And it's like, this should be swift. And now they've already appealed it, and they're trying to say all this stuff, and they'll drag it out in court for years and years and years, probably get him a lower sentence and all this stuff. And there should be swift justice for him. It should have been like, all right, you're guilty. Let's take care of it.
Okay, go through this door, the guilty door.
Yeah.
And there's something waiting for you.
Yes. Yeah. It would be a different world if we took care of things in a better way. In Leviticus 24:18, whoever kills an animal must replace it, life for life. And, this is not talking about animal sacrifice, but this is kills someone else's animal, I think, in context.
Yeah, this is, and we've kind of touched on this in previous ones, but this is like, I accidentally killed my neighbor's donkey. Mm-hmm. And so I have to replace his donkey. Yeah, it's this idea of restitution, that it should hurt you something. It should cause you inconvenience, because you've definitely inconvenienced these other people. And, it makes sense. It's just, yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's like, oh, well, that's just the right thing to do. I killed your donkey. Oh, yeah. I mean, you should probably take my donkey then.
Yeah. Oh, and we reached the end.
That quickly, and just like that, it was
just over. Like that. 20-something slides, 1 hour, 13 minutes.
Yep.
So with some spelling mistakes, you're welcome.
That's right. Do the math on that, and you'll see how quickly we get through this.
Yes, we are very fast. Well, that we'll do more of these next time we get together and do this. We're going to go through the end of Leviticus and kind of combine it with Numbers. When I went through Numbers, there just wasn't a whole lot of stuff that I could glean, and maybe I missed some things. I don't know, but Deuteronomy is just full of it.
It's
in a good way.
Yeah.
And so that one we'll do probably verse by verse, line by line. And so also, if you know people that we could interview, we'd always be happy if you want to make an introduction to someone to us. If you have a connection, we'd be happy to do that, because we'd still like doing that. We just kind of have taken a different direction here, trying to get through this. But anyway, and what else, Jake?
Nothing. Just check out Sabbath Lounge. Share this with a friend, especially if you found it useful. And as always, if you didn't like it, just keep that to yourself. So.
Yep. We really appreciate if you go into wherever, if you listen to this podcast and don't get to see our faces, please go into Spotify, into iTunes, wherever you find this, even if it's in Facebook, and give us a rating. Hopefully it's 5-star, whatever the best is. That helps. And we appreciate that. Comments always are nice. And you can always shoot us an email at sabbathlounge@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get any comments from you, any prayer requests, anything like that, anything specifically you want us to mention. If you ever have some, event or something you want us to talk about. Also, don't forget our friends at Whole Bible Community. We recommend signing up for Whole Bible Community and, seeing who's around you that might have a fellowship. We encourage you to start a fellowship, to be a part of a fellowship. You can't, I may step on your toes, but I'm fine with that. You can't sit around and be like, oh, there's no one around me. I can't do anything. Sometimes you just need to do it. You just need to start a fellowship. Even if it's just you and your kids, and maybe start simple. Maybe you just do a Bible study and you invite your neighbor. Start there. It doesn't have to be this experience where everything is just like perfect and the house is perfect and all of that, because it's never going to be perfect.
But make sure you have fog lights and lasers and some fancy music.
That's right.
That'll bring the people in.
Just bring them in. Or in one church I was a part of one time, they were like, if we build a bit bigger parking lot, people will come in.
If you build it.
And I was like, yeah, people are going to be driving down the road and be like, oh, parking lot.
Empty parking lot.
I got to go there.
No. There's spots. I better get in there.
I think they were envisioning their cars were like in the movie Cars, in the cartoon, and they're trying out the new asphalt with their tires or something. I don't know. So,
I mean, I don't know. You got to make an argument somehow, I guess.
Yeah. But I would encourage you to start a fellowship, to be a part of it, to find somebody that you can be in fellowship with, because it's so important to have people that you're in community with. For nothing else, you don't have to be by yourself. You don't have to be alone. You're not, look at all the scripture. There's countless references in Torah where people thought they were the only one. And, like Elijah, goes in this cave and he's like, I'm all by myself. And then there's like all these people that he didn't know about that were faithful and true. And that happens over and over in scripture. And that's kind of our human tendency. We think, oh, we're the only one. But there's probably people around you that if they're not doing the exact same thing, they might be open. They might be hungry for diving deeper in the word. And if you just ask them, they might be like, yeah, that sounds good. And you might have to make it. You might have to start simple, but hey, you got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
So don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, just like Matt said, maybe some cavemen will come out and fellowship with you.
That's right. All right. Well, that's enough rambling, I guess. So we appreciate you being here, and as always, we appreciate the support. We appreciate the comments, and we'll catch you next time. This is Matt
and Jake.
Signing out.